Hello everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
So very good evening to everyone. Skillship Valor welcomes you to the fifth episode of Skillship Tech Talks Season 2. Tech Talks is a series of episodes that promises engaging conversations on skill development and placement processes. Today, we have with us Ms. Anjali Sharma, Associate Product Manager with Bajaj Finserv Health, who is here to enlighten us with her knowledge and experience gathered both in college and in the industry. I would like to mention that she is also a graduate from VIT Vellore 2021 batch. So, today's session is on basics of product management. Ma'am will walk us through the journey of how product management is actually done and its importance. Without taking any more time, I would now like to request our guest to take the session from here, Ms. Anjali Sharma.
Thank you, Vidip. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well on Saturday evening. I'll just share my screen. Let me know if you can see.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. As Vidip has mentioned, this session will be about like introduction of product management. If you people have any specific questions, I would love to answer. Before going into this, a little bragging, not because of the fact that I want you to know all this, because of the fact that because you feel that I am like I have that experience and maybe I can be of great help to you. So I started my career from being an electrical engineer. My engineering major is in electrical and electronics. And then I worked with the car racing team of VIT Vellore, Pravega Racing, and have represented India at Formula Student Germany. Later on, I realized that maybe I'm more into software development, and then I moved to all these fellowships and programs like Google Women Tech Makers program and so on. And at that time, after like realizing both the worlds of electrical and software development, I then moved to business because I feel like this business and marketing is the area, and I have been a part of Google Ad Grants online marketing channel. All of this will be explained in detail later on. So once we have to start something, this is like very genuine thing that comes to my mind, and that is this, which does not translate to what you're all thinking about for obvious reasons. That is basically what to how. So if you want, and not specific to product development, product management, software development, career choice, or anything, if you want to deep down into anything, you just need to figure out what is that, who are the people who are working in that particular domain, and how to get into it. Right. So let's just move to what. What exactly is product management? Apart from all the cliches and very hypes of about product design, product management, project management, and so on, product management is the practice of strategically driving the development, market, launch, and continual support and improvement of a company's products. That's a very technical definition. So I'll just keep it that way, like it's managing the product within a company. If you're familiar with software development and software development engineers, it's very easy to relate to that particular situation. If someone asks you what is software development, it might be, developing the software. In the similar manner, product management is managing the product within a specific company. My best definition is basically product manager's job. So product management is product manager's job in the nutshell. So now the question arises, who are these product managers? So that is the who part of our whole journey. As Mark Erickson has said, if you are really interested, he has published a book, Inspired. It's a great book, great resource, highly recommended. He has also a website called Mind the Product, where he explains his dailies, how to, what if, and so on. And Mark Erickson has put it in that way. Product management is as the intersection between business, technology, and user experience. And this definition is by far the most accurate definition you will ever come across. So if you see in the nutshell how the business works, there's one section of customer. It can be via design, customer experience, interface, so on. There's a tech stack going on, front end, back end, databases, and so on. And then there are business and marketing people who are responsible for driving all these changes. Product management is the intersection of this. And defining a job in Venn diagram is basically also a product manager's job. So now comes like who are exactly these people working in this domain and who can be considered a good product manager. So as explained by Mark, a good product manager must be experienced in at least one of these three, passionate about all three, and conversant with practitioners in all. Now, if you like break down this whole sentence, must be experienced in at least one. To get into product management, you can either be a tech person, software developer, front end, back end, database engineer, any one of those. The business people, marketing side, if you don't have a tech background, BTech degree and so on, you can still have done BCA, any other thing in marketing, business. Mostly MBAs are the people related to the business side, but it's not a mandate. Let's just come to that at later stages. And then the customers. Customers can be of two parts: customer experience, that UI UX designers, and the customer selling, the business development, sales people. So basically, if you see this Venn diagram, a person who can be of any background can be fit in this, but he or she has to follow this particular definition. That is, once you will be realizing, okay, I'm a tech person. Now you just qualify this one criteria. That is, must be experienced in at least one. Passionate about all three. So this sentence means that even if you're not from a customer experience background, so you're not in sales, you're not in business development, you're not in customer experience as in design, but you still know how this works. And you are passionate about how this should work in ideal cases. And then conversant with practitioners and all is probably the most important part of this particular sentence, because you need to talk to people across industry, across the company of all these domains. So if you're a product manager, your job is to get the work done. And for getting the work done, you need to contact all these people and then reach out to these people, get the work done, understand the blockage, and so on and so forth. So that's a best definition I have ever come across of a product manager, if you ask. Then just moving forward a little detail. So this particular resource I found on Career Karma, and I really like the way they have presented it. So I'll just walk you through this particular process. If you are an entry-level product manager, so associate levels, assistant level, I am an associate product manager. So if you just graduate from college, there's very highly likely that you will be assigned to associate or assistant level of product management. Then your work is majorly into the implementation part. Once you have 3 or 5 years of experience, you will be moved to a more strategic kind of role, and more people will be hired under you for the execution and so on. So if you see both of these areas, entry-level product managers basically come with feature specialization. So say you work at WhatsApp as a product manager, and you have personally realized that WhatsApp web doesn't allow you to call people. So maybe as a product manager, you will be like, I have personally faced this problem. Let's just see how this goes. You will create the overall architecture. You will pitch this to senior product managers, and you take it from there. This is just one example. It depends on, say, which company you are in. So if you are in, say, Amazon, you will be more operational product managers. Amazon's product managers are already called program managers, I think, but their work is more or less same. Then if you are in, say, very big tech companies, product companies, Google and so on, your work will be very specific to tech. You have to code, you have to make the architecture, pseudocode at least, if not exactly hard code coding. And that's the feature specifications we are looking for. You test these things and you'll be like, you know what, I need to add this particular thing, and I think we should be going about this. That's your job. Second thing, that's the most important and most common one, is basically doing the market research to understand customers. For making the strategy, and strategy is again the job of senior product managers, you will be needing a data mapped with particular insights and so on and so forth. For working on the data, for analyzing trends, and for getting certain insights, you need to reach out to these platforms. You need to be very conversant with all these people who are working in this particular domain, and then you get the work done. So as a senior, as an entry-level product managers, you need to be very efficient with data, numbers. You need to finalize the trends, what is going to happen with this product if you particular assign a particular feature and so on. Then you are also responsible for A/B testing experiments. So senior PM maybe will be coming with the strategy that we need to experiment with this particular set of people. So I live in Allahabad. So let's just an example. Urban company thinks one day that we should launch urban company in Allahabad. We don't have urban company as of now. Then senior people, the plan is coming from senior people, but the execution part, one of the entry level PM will analyze the market of Allahabad, how this works, how is the overall demographics, is it like a viable choice to launch or not, and to understand these customers, we'll be running A/B tests. We'll call these people, we'll send messages, we send copies of messages, and so on. And then last but not the least is helping monitor this data. So only creating reports and only getting insights is not the part. You need to work simultaneously with all these senior PMs and other people if required to know how this is working. And if something goes wrong, you will be the first one to realize that maybe our system is not working today because we have seen a serious dip in customer experience and people coming to our platform and so on. So once you will be moving to a very senior level position, your job will be more strategic. So you will be analyzing results from the reports and from the specialization feature requests entry level PM has requested. You will create a product roadmap. Product roadmap is basically if you're launching something, if you're planning to launch something, you will come up with a requirement that maybe this will take 6 months. And within 6 months, the first month is for research, the second month is for implementation, third is for testing, so on and so forth. If you have multiple features of a particular platform, so say you are building a website for people to come and read to your platform, then the first feature request will be to collect data, to collect all the numbers of books. So maybe if you have a 6 months timeline, you'll be like, at first month, I'll be looking at data, and then I'll collecting all the resources of wherever people go for reading books. At later stages, you will be having a CTA of you can purchase, buy, and then monetization strategies, whatever happens. Another thing that senior PMs does is create product development and launch strategies. So all this happens at backend. Product managers, most of the role happens backend unless the product is launched. So all the launch specific details and very high level of things will be handled by senior PM. So senior PM age criteria is not there, but in terms of experience, you have say 3 to 5 years of experience, you will be moved to a mid-level PM. And then after say 5-8 years, depending upon which industry you have worked with, you will be moving to a senior position. So let's just move to next slide. So this is basically the point where I want to highlight all the people, because I suppose our target audience is students specifically, and most of these people are either very early graduates or who have just graduated or still in college, first year, second year. So this is like a very common question I came across a lot of times, that what are the prerequisites of doing a product management, and what are like the basic skills you should be learning and you can't like escape this. I would say the first one is you need to have a business sense, which is not there in the presentation. That's why I'm like telling this explicitly. You need to have a business sense of how industries are working overall. So you can follow TechCrunch, you can follow a lot of different websites. You need to be in the game is the point. So if you are saying that maybe I'm launching a website and you're planning to scale it as a product manager, you should be able to say that this industry is going XYZ. So I think my business will sustain, or this particular feature will sustain in a longer run. So having a product sense will give you a lot of benefits and interviews and so on that we'll discuss later. But having a product sense is a must. So for developing a product sense, you can, as I said, you can follow certain websites. TechCrunch is my personal favorite. You can also read all the case studies, how business have developed. So a lot of case studies like I Got an Offer is a great website. You can like learn a lot of like 20, 30 specific company specific case studies, and a lot of them other as well. I Got an Offer is my go-to website, and I hope they are like paying me for this promotion, but they are not. So, okay. Then if we look at like this presentation, then data analysis. As I said, as an entry-level PM, most of your work will be in the market strategy, building those strategies, analyzing data, analyzing trends, and then give all these reports to senior people. So data analysis here does not exactly mean that you need to be very good with Python and machine learning and so on. You need to be good with data. That's it. So if you are a technical product manager, yes, you will be handling all the machine learning, all the data analysis, like the tech data analysis. If you are say under engagement, if you are any other product managers other than the technical product managers, then you will be handling data via Tableau, Clever Tap, Power BI, and so on. So having a sense of data and analyzing trends is again second most important skill of a product manager. So if you say on product strategy, you don't need to be a very good PM as an entry level position, because that's the reason we are in the data analysis domain. Once you see the data, once you see the trends, then maybe you will move on to say, okay, this data is looking like this, so maybe this is the strategy. But overall, as I said, once you develop this business sense, you will be able to guess all the factors that are mentioned there. I'll come to the product design later. So product strategy, value proposition, and product life cycle. These three will come under business sense. Product strategy is basically how you are going to implement this. So as I just mentioned, I am, as a product manager of WhatsApp, want to launch online video consultation for the web WhatsApp. But how am I about to go about this? Is it like I will be like going to talk to people, or is it like I'll just make my whole plan in the paper and then execute? And how do I want to go about it? That's basically strategy. Once I have the strategy, I'll be like, what is the value people are getting out of it? So you need to be very empathetic to people, because if you see Product Hunt and all these websites, every single day people are making something that nobody is wanting. Nobody needs your product unless you like can relate to the people who are in the business or who are like facing the particular position or particular problem in this specific case. So value proposition is, if you are building something, if you are launching a particular feature, if you are launching a product, even if you are launching a startup, what is the value people are getting out of it? And at the later stages, are they actually going to use your platform? So this is the value proposition. And then once you have these two things, that okay, it's a win-win situation. I am building feature X, and users are getting users are getting benefited from this in Y. And then I'll be like, okay, I'll chart this whole plan in 1 year. For the first quarter, I'll do this. That's product lifecycle. So dividing the particular task in separate discrete features and then implementing a timeline to that is product lifecycle. And once all this will be done, you also want like how to show these people that you are doing something. That's product design. And all the UX, UI designers are coming into that. You don't exactly need this particular feature, because you can always hire people from design. And a lot of people, including me, are not very good with design. But you should have a business sense. As I said, if there's any one thing you want to take from this, I would say business sense and data analysis. So yes, how to be a product manager. So we have covered what is product management. We have covered who are these people and what are the basic primary skills of these people. Now we'll be jumping to how to be a product manager. That's basically like the reason you are all here, most probably. So let's just go into this. Getting the right experience as a student. As I said, I suppose most of you are either early graduates or the people who are still in college. So I have kept this slide as a student. Also, I am still like just graduated, so I can't say like what exactly people do to transition in their career. And I just don't want to give the Gyan basis some other resource. I am telling all this basis my personal first-hand experience. And we'll later on see that how you can get other experience as well. If you're someone from say 2 to 3 years of experience, I suppose you're not in the call. If you are, just feel free to ping me by any chance. This is my personal website, and this has all the social links. Oh, I just forgot to socialize that, but okay. If you're a student, let's go into this. The first and very easy, I would say, very easy way to get into product management is to do a internship or a fellowship under product management. So now comes the fact that where do we find all these internships and fellowships? There are two things to this. First, if you're a woman, there are like a lot of opportunities for this. There are separate fellowships. I've also mentioned the companies, Google, Microsoft Codis, Adobe, Women in Tech, Goldman Sachs, Flipkart. All of these companies are like actually looking for people who are interested. As I said, you don't exactly have to do a product management role internship. You need to do any internship where you're exposed to a business. Because as we remember the Venn diagram, you can be proficient with any of the threes. So you can be a tech person, you can be a designer, and you can be a marketer or business people. So even if you're getting an internship in say tech role, just see how the business side of them works. If you're working for say Flipkart and you are in the e-cart domain, then see how the overall e-cart is working. Are they doing any changes? Are they trying to launch something else? How the team is getting structured, how they decide, how they think about launching something. And that's the best way to get the right experience, because all this will give you a great business sense that will come when you will be sitting in the interview right there and thinking about, okay, how do you improve LinkedIn endorsement feature? Then all this will come into picture. So that's second. If you are not a woman and all these programs are not for you, I suppose there are a lot of internships, general internship, as I said, college placements, other things. What I have done specifically is I have contacted to a lot of startups. And this is like a best way to get the win-win situation out of this. You contact the startup basis your need. So maybe you are very good with, say, finances. You have approached cred, and a lot of people. You can approach like a lot of people. Maybe they won't respond, but who knows? You are applying for say 100 people. Even if two of these people respond, that's 2% conversion rate. Still, two people will give you the job. You just need one, right? So there's no harm in like reaching out to people. So doing internships and fellowships in any domain, as I said, design, into technology or business, will be of great value to you. And if you are in any position right now, so say you are just graduated, you are doing a software development role or something like that, just see beyond that. Try reaching out to these people who are in business, who are like handling major stakeholders, or if not, just attend those meetings. Sometimes we feel very redundant that, I am a software developer, I won't attend business meeting, but you don't know how much value will you be getting, how they make decisions and so on. So that's what you need. So getting the right experience comes from there. There are a lot of communities who are doing this. My favorite is Product School, Product Hunt, and Product Folks. Product Hunt, if you don't know, please visit to their website. They have like 3 million monthly active users. Every single time a person launches something, it goes to Product Hunt and we can upvote them. So you will be seeing that say 50 people are launching something every single day. Only 10 of them are getting 3, 4, 15 upvotes. And the rest of the people are like creating something that nobody wants. That's where you see that why these 10 people are like working so great, what they have targeted. And sometimes it's something very simple. The last Product Hunt, product one, was just a website where you can create an avatar of you. And you can like name it. A lot of websites are already doing this, but they are still at one because the value proposition is very high in that case. So then you can get a Product Sense, a lot of Product Sense, and I can't recommend Product Hunt like more. There are also websites like Product School. They have a lot of free courses. They have certifications, which is very expensive, and I will never recommend people to put say 1.5 lakhs to just get the degree. I won't recommend that, but there are a lot of the YouTube channel, the particular website, and they do have a lot of books. I'll cover that resource at the later stage. Then there are newly created communities. Product Force is a very early one. There are a lot. You can just search for communities for product people. You can like get added to their Slack channel, and then you will see what people are like talking about. You also get a lot of sense of what are the job openings, what people are expecting, how like what is the kind of questions they are asking in the particular channel, and then you get to learn a lot of people. Plus it helps in networking, especially in this pandemic time. It's very difficult to go and talk to these people. So these communities are already having people working at Google, Amazon, Adobe, and so on. You can just, they're like just one text away. Even if they don't respond basis their bandwidth, they might. One of them can. As I said, even if your conversion rate is 2%, you just need one. That's it. Second is online profile development. This particular point has worked out very well for me personally. And again, if you have to take any one thing from this, just take the second point. You need to be present online. And sometimes people just say that, it's not mandate. Yes, it's not. But if you're doing an engineering degree and you want a job at product, it is important. If you're doing an engineering degree in CS, you want a software development job, your college will any which ways facilitate that. You don't need an online presence for that. But if you are doing a BTech like me, I have done my engineering in electrical, and I wanted a job in business side. So then I need to show that I am good at what I am doing and I am a right fit for them, because how would they know? So if I have two candidates and one person has updated all their LinkedIn, whatever profiles they're having, they have showed me their works, they do have a portfolio, and one person is not that much evident in terms of work, in terms of online presence, for obvious reasons, I'm going to choose the first one. So take your chances. Even if like they are improving 5% of your chances of getting the interview, just take it. You're losing like a free 5% by just updating your LinkedIn and maybe checking out LinkedIn on daily basis. Though checking out LinkedIn, I won't recommend. It's had become that's a different discussion, but you can use it for your purposes. that how do you want to put it. I always recommend people to have a portfolio. I do have a portfolio. You can show whatever you have done. And especially if you have diverse background. I have come from electrical, then I moved to software development, then I moved to business analysis. Now I'm working at product. I also do a lot of talks like this. So how a person will be knowing that this particular person is capable of doing X, Y, Z? You need a portfolio for that. And this is very important if you're a designer. So for software development people, you have GitHub, you have like a lot of portfolios already built. So I won't exactly recommend if you are aiming for a software development, but if you are in this presentation, I suppose you are aiming for a product role. So then make the portfolio. Show your work. Don't tell them in the interview that I have done this. Show them, I have done this. You can see it here. And then by there, and I have done like a lot of internships, a lot of interviews where the people are like, what is a portfolio? Tell me. And I will like, you can check out this link. One thing that works out here is you can also start writing. So I have received very mixed feedback from them, but I personally feel everyone can write. So if you're like sharing your experiences, even if like it's a failure experiences, if you're like day-to-day experiences, writing gives a lot of clarity. And from them, you can like move, increase your online presence, increase, say, people who are following you up with, and so on. So update professional websites if you are aiming for a role that is not in your college curriculum and so on. Ease your imposter. Imposter syndrome is basically another topic in itself. But a lot of people among us don't post something because they don't think the work they are doing is like enough, or the work they are doing is actually good enough to put it out there. And we don't know how many people are losing out here in this particular thing because they just feel that maybe this is not good enough to put it on LinkedIn or to put it on blogs on Medium and all. It is. Even if you have like spent 1 weekend in something, it is worth putting on your portfolio. Just make it. Then get involved in healthy social discussions. This healthy is basically a sign of Twitter and LinkedIn controversies. Don't get involved in that. It's not very healthy. It's not very good. And it doesn't show well in your portfolio because as a product manager, your work is to talk to people. And if you're not able to talk to people in a decent manner, you won't get the job. You just won't. Then cold emails, as I said, you need to talk, contact these people. Hunter.io is a very good website if you're like looking for reaching out to these people from particular organizations. So say if a person is like working at InterviewBit and you know the name, so you can put the website link of the company, you can put the name of the person, and you will get the email ID, so which you can reach out. You have shared 50 emails limit, but we have like a lot of Gmail accounts. I don't think that will be a problem. So follow relevant hashtags. This is also for the point that, you stay updated, whatever is happening, you get the job done and so on. Now comes the part where your leadership and side projects works, because the first and second point, I suppose, is comparatively easier than the third point. Getting something out of your own self without particular guidance is the best thing you can get to show that you are very good with leadership. So as I just showed, as an entry-level positions, you need to search out for things that are not there in your app. So WhatsApp web video calling feature is not there. Similarly, there might be something, because if you see Meet, everything is like so good, but Meet have like revamped everything 1 month or 2 months ago. And this is like just much better. But we can still find a lot of loopholes. I was like just looking out for these before this presentation, when I was like searching for how to present, can I just see myself while presenting and so on. There's a lot of scope of improvement, but no one is guiding you out there. As a product manager, no one will tell you that you need to do this. You have to figure out that your app is lacking this. Maybe people are dropping off, say, at second page, then something is wrong with second page. And you need to figure out what is wrong and basis data and whatever we have discussed. So getting a side project done, again, it can be anything. It can be a sports club, it can be a drama club, it can be anything that shows that you are good with leadership roles and you're good with leading teams. You're good with talking to people and so on. Again, this no-code tools are basically the best websites. No-code tools is basically you don't have to code. If you have a app in mind, you can use all these tools and build a website done in say 5-10 minutes. And you can like just search, build a website in 5 minutes, you'll get a lot of resources. My favorite ones are Bubble, Softer, Glide, Xano. If you want to learn, there's a whole bunch of resources for free, so that like just get the work done. If you are say from a business point of view and you're like you always need a software developer to get the work done, like me, you can use all these tools. Then comes the part of taking part into, I covered this. This particular thing I again personally recommend, Google Ad Grants Online Marketing Challenge. It connects with non-profits. It has a branded value of Google ads, and I think you get a top marketer certificate if you successfully complete this. These applications are like all across year. Yes, you just have to be a student. The applications are open all across the year. So if you can, just check out their official website. I also have a blog for this, like very detailed one, how to do and all. This will be there on my portfolio, I think. So you will find, if you don't find it, just drop my text and I'll send you the link. So then lead clubs, conduct sessions, be a part of sessions like this, and so on just helps. So now comes the part, resume building. I will just walk you through this particular part because this in itself is a very big thing. But here is a 15-second rule that a recruiter spends about 15 seconds on your resume before tossing it to say accept or reject file. And that is not anything negative for the recruiter. It's just they have like a lot of applications. You can't expect them to like read every line out there. And that is why you need to be very sure that your resume isn't tossed away just because it isn't formatted well, or you're not able to put everything that you have done in one page. So let's just go with the best practices. I'll just cover. I love this lady though. I'll just cover the general suggestions, and again, I won't be covering this in detail. You can always reach out to me. You can always search on Google resume building tips, and there are like a hell lot of resources out there. Everyone has made a presentation or a YouTube video on this. It's worth reading. Just see whatever works for you at the end of the day, and also take credible resources. So if someone is, there's a resource cracking the tech interview, cracking the PM interview, all these resources are coming from there only. So you can check that. And if someone is just putting something on YouTube, just make sure that you validate this content is legit or not. So it should be short. It's like the best thing, very obvious, but it should be short. Even though you feel that, how can you ever capture all that work you have done in the 4 years? And I'll tell you my very personal experience in this particular case. So we went to Google, Hyderabad, and there was this person leading the team. And she has said that in 14 years, she was having 14 years of experience, we have learned how to put everything in one page of resume. And if you can do this, you are in. So a lot of times we have done a lot of work, and then we feel to put everything on that resume. But that's not relevant. If you are applying for a software developer role, I'm not interested if you're a very good dancer and all. And especially when it's taking your page. I'm just not interested. So that way, if you're applying for product management role, everything has to be tailored with a business sense. You can show numbers, you can show impacts, you can show leadership, you can show a lot of things, credibility and all that we discussed in the previous slide. But don't put anything that's just there because you have done this, right? So keep it specific, keep it short. One page is always recommended. If you don't feel like, you can, but it's always recommended to have one page because you just have 15 seconds. Then it has to be accomplishment oriented. So a lot of times, as I said, joining a startup is like one of the best things I have done throughout my career. But then joining a startup gives you a lot of responsibilities. But that's not what we are looking for in resume. And resume, we are looking for what like accomplishment do you have? So just make it accomplishment oriented. We also have quantifiable results. So the more number of numbers you will be putting, building X, I'll just show you an example. This is the tried and tested way of Google's XYZ formula of writing a resume. Every single experience line you have to put like accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. So if you see, like these are like 3 examples. Member of leadership for tomorrow society. I don't know how do you get in there, and I don't know what is tomorrow society if you're putting this in your resume. The better version is selected as one of the 275 for this 12-month professional development program for high achieving diverse talent. Now I know what is this about. And I know what is the competence criteria. You are selected as one of the 275 people. But I still don't know what is it about, right? Like what exactly are you doing in there? And then the best version is selected as one of the 275 participants. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry. Selected as one of the 275 participants nationwide for this 12-month professional development program for high achieving diverse talent based on leadership potential and academic success. I know what is this about. I know why you are getting selected. I know what are you going to do with this. You can also cut short this line because this is a long sentence, but I think you get the point. Next is, yes, it has to be universal, meaningful, and it has to be professionally sound. So you can't put like my initial email was chocolavasharma@gmail.com and so on. It's not like they will be rejecting me for that basis, But if I can't be like professional in my resume, how are they expecting me to be professional in my career, right? So it's keep it professional. If your like email is not very decent, make a decent one. You're not paying anything for making a Gmail account, right? So check for typos. It's very important. You need to be consistent. If you're ending one particular sentence with a full stop, end everything with a full stop. If you're not putting a full stop, just remove it. So these are like just keeping the professional part in mind. So that's why we do this. Then prefer not to lie. Again, we can just say prefer not to lie because we're not going to control anything. So do not lie because of the fact that even if you get to the interview, recruiters are having say 15, 20 years of experience. By one sentence, they will be realizing that you are lying. And the moment they realize that you have lied at one part, they will be believing that you have lied in all other parts and you will be rejected for sure without getting another chance. So don't lie. Also, do not manipulate. This is my favorite part. So once I have like read this is again a meme. It says on your resume that you went to Cambridge University. So they're like, yeah, I was visiting my sister. Just don't do that. Don't look out for a person to ask you that, why you have written this, and then you explain something that's actually very manipulative. You will be rejected for sure. Do not do that. Again, personalize. This is very important. As a product manager, as I said, it's very difficult. You don't have a discrete thing. You just have a business sense. You can be very good with data. You can be very good with numbers in general, and you can empathize with people. So that's a very broad perspective of skills that you can have on your resume. The more you personalize, the better. I know it takes a lot of time. So as I said, if you're applying for Amazon, they will be looking for say data-centric and databases-centric people. So if you have done any internship in database and so on, it will be very of great value. But the same internship, if you're applying for say a company like Bajaj, which I am a part of, then it won't be of great value because we are not an operational company. We are a tech company. And so on. So it depends on the company to company that what all features what will be like the hero feature of your resume. So put relevant work experience. I have said like if you are applying for a software developer, I am not interested if you are doing a dance class or so on. It's good to have if you have space in your resume, but then it's generally not advisable. So mention the keywords in line. I think this you have reached this far. You know a lot of other things. Always put keywords basis the job description. So even at campus placements, even if you're applying for off campus, this becomes very relevant. If a particular job opening is getting say 600 applications, I'm not going to read through everything. I'll run an ATS, and in this ATS, I will like match how many keywords a particular resume are getting basis the keywords I have put on my general job description. So put relevant keywords. Look out for things and then put it out there. Again, I think that's the last part. Invest some time. It is important. It is going to get you the job. It is going to at least the opportunity. I personally think you might feel that this is like a very simple point. A lot of people are putting a lot of efforts on resume. I am telling you with my experience, people are not caring about the resume. They're just caring about the whole interview process, how to prepare and so on. If you're applying as an entry level position to any of the companies, your resume is basically the first step. And if you don't cross the first step, you won't reach again. You will never be able to get like, why should we hire you and all these questions if you don't get the resume part right. Just keep it right. And then invest some time. It is important, it is hard, and someone out there is actually putting time. And that is making the difference. If you are like getting rejected for say 5 times in a particular job, then maybe it's time that you should be looking out for something feedback wise, right? So focus on your strengths, use templates because it's like utilizes a lot of values. Again, this is not a rule of thumb. Just see what works for you. But these are like general suggestions that have worked out for people. And I've taken it from like a lot of boot camps, books, and so on. So let's just move. Cover letter is again in itself a very long topic. And I feel like cover letter is basically recommendation for your own self. So in the cover letter, you just have to do in a better way. We'll do anything for a job in a better way with like how should they consider how should they consider your application, how your experience is very relevant to the position you're applying to. Why should you hire you? Ka question answer is basically your cover letter. So if you move again, after writing like to whomsoever it may concern, write about why you're interested to that particular role. I've seen a lot of people saying that nobody reads cover letter and so on, but people do. And especially at big tech companies. Contrary to the fact, Microsoft and Google are reading every single cover letter they are applying with for the people who are like crossing the resume section. So once the resume are getting shortlisted, they are classifying basis cover letter. So that becomes your second level of filtering. And if you're not applying with cover letter, like you're losing your percentage. As I said, even if this involves say 5% of the total overall chances, take those chances. Don't like lose things for free. Again, apply as soon as possible. This is like a general tip. If any fellowship, internship, a job opening is there, apply as soon as possible, because most of the time people are getting good candidates in first 2 days, and then they just stop hiring other candidates or stop considering other candidates even if the job is open. So apply as soon as possible. And if you are like putting filters on out there, and that's again a different discussion of how to reach about these people. So you can put filters on LinkedIn, Google Jobs, different websites that you use. You can follow hashtags and then so on. You just be notified of when the particular opening is happening. So now comes the part interview preparation. So I'm supposing very optimistically that you have cleared the resume part, you have cleared the cover letter part. Now you are having an interview. So the product management interview, on the contrary, is very difficult and very different to all other interviews we have ever come across. As a student, it just multiplies the difficulty level because we haven't in the business throughout. So two particular resources, I have those books like within me. I had just kept it for bragging purposes. Decode and Conquer and Cracking the PM Interview. If you are very serious about product management role, read them. Cracking the PM Interview is freely available online. You can like get it from anywhere. If you're not finding it, text me, I'll send it to you. Decode and Conquer is not available, but I think you can get it from other resources. Even if you're not, it's not very expensive. You can buy, and this is like worth it. If you can read any two books, I also have like the list of resources. If you can choose any two books, read any one, choose the first one, Cracking the PM Interview. If you have like a certain bandwidth, read the first two. This will give a lot of clarity and lot of insight. This is basically the Bible of product management. And then there are other resources like Product School, as I said, Medium. So if you are applying for a say particular company, or if you are able to figure out like how to get into particular role, just type it out there. And there are a lot of people providing all their interview experiences on Medium, particular resources, how they have started and so on. It's a great resource. And if you're not ready to invest a lot of time and you're just like figuring out if this is like right field for you or not, just check the Medium articles before investing anything. So I think, yes, I am on time. Yes. If you have any questions, I would love to answer. If you want me to go back to any particular presentation which you haven't understood, I would love to do that. So I'm like actually open to questions. And I hope you like the presentation. That's like goes without saying. Thank you for coming.
It was really an informative session, ma'am, which would definitely help upcoming graduates. We really got a clear insight to what actually product management is. We got to know what product management is, the WTH principles, skills required, steps to become a project manager, and about resume building, cover letters, interview preparations. So thank you so much, ma'am, for that. Now, when we were taking in registration, students had some questions in mind, which they wanted to ask you.
Yes.
So the first question is, what are the factors that one should keep in mind while promoting stuff or pitching his or her ideas?
Okay. So I suppose the promoting is on social media. That's what they mean.
I believe like ideas to their senior employees or on social media.
Okay. So I feel while putting your opinions out there, you need to be very data backed. So if you are, as I said, if you are like looking out for something very specific, just check out all the particular resources. So as I said, you need to have an idea of like improving meat, for an example. You need to check out data that if a particular person has already worked in that particular area or not. And then if you're pitching it to senior people, I don't think that is a wrong thing. And sometimes people are having the copyright issues that this idea is particular like mine. I have invested in a lot in this, but I feel the idea is just 20% of the part. The rest depends on implementation. So I highly advise people, if they have for whatever company they are in, maybe they are in tech role, maybe they are in interns and so on. If they do have an idea, make a presentation and send it out to the senior people. Like the worst cases, they will ignore. They don't ignore usually feedback because everyone is like open to feedback. It's a very good practice to put your opinions out there in the minds of senior people. And I don't think it's a copyright issue. It's a good practice. I think that one thing that we should be considering is it shouldn't be illegal as in you're not You're not leaking any confidential information from your internship, from your experiences, and you're not making things very difficult to understand. Just send 5 slides of presentation. That's it. I think that these are the areas you should be caring about.
How to increase the value of your product if you are not getting the right price?
Okay, that's a very specific question. And I think most of the senior people are actually responsible for this value and costing price. I was just part of this one meeting, one presentation where we were deciding certain prices for that. If you're not getting particular price, maybe you can check for competitors and very niche things that I think this person which is asking has already considered. I feel that if you're not getting the right price, maybe you are positioning it in a difficult way. So if you feel that your product has a great potential and people are like not ready to pay for it, maybe it's not that great for people. So you need to figure out how do you position your product within the lives of these people. So for an example, if your customers are having a problem and they're not doing anything for that, then it's very highly likely that they won't use your product either, because they are just working fine without your product. But if they're like paying something, if it's costing them their time, money, mental peace, anything, then there are chances that people will pay for this because they're actually paying somewhere else. So that, if you see that, and again, there's a mom test. It's a book. It's also available. That will like solve a lot of questions regarding how to ask feedback, how to position your product in a decent way, and so on. So if this particular person is there in the call, I highly recommend the mom test. Read that. It's just 120 pages of book. It's a gold resource. So yeah.
Ma'am, the essential skills required for a product manager in today's digitally transformed or virtual working environment organization?
I think this is the skills part. I have covered that in the presentation.
Yeah.
So as I said, the business sense, how this business works, whichever business you are in, whichever business you are aiming for, and then understanding the customers are like primary. Then all these skills like product roadmap, design, empathy, and all are like secondary skills that you should be having.
Ma'am, what should we do when a customer or a group of customers are interested in a product but are reluctant to buy it, maybe due to price or of not a known brand?
Okay, so this I personally like this question. I like a lot of people having this. I think if the person is again in the call, please read the mom test. That just answer exactly the same question. I've read it. I can say for the present audience, what happens is sometimes when I'm giving you a feedback, say I'm telling you I'm making a website for women to be very informed in legal rights. I'm actually building this, but I'm just telling you this right in front, and I'm saying that I have invested 30 hours into this, I have put a lot of efforts and all, then it's like for you to, it becomes very obvious to say that, yes, this is a great product, because my question is, how is this? And that shouldn't be the question in first place. So it's like, nobody says your baby is ugly and so on. And if you're like putting it out there right in front of the people might like it, but are they like gonna pay for it? That's very less likely. So you need to position your questions in some way, because the first point, like the person are interested. How are you deciding that a person is interested? So for deciding the person is interested, you need to have a set of questions, a set of conversation that shows that they are interested, not they telling you that they are interested. So mom test will help in this case, and also like asking great questions is also a great way to know if these particular exactly interested or not, and are they willing to pay for it.
Ma'am, what would be the best strategy for small businesses?
I think it depends. It's a very specific question again. It depends on whichever business you are in. If you are into community business, maybe making a community is your priority. If you're into tech business, then making life simpler in any way is your priority. If you are into say payments or something, then facilitating the whole process is your priority. So that's a very specific question. So I think I don't think it's a general question answering question.
Okay, ma'am. How much stability can product management provide as a full-time job?
It provides great stability. It pays you a lot. So like if you're looking for stability, that's like a best career option. And that's the reason why a lot of people, like one of the reasons, I won't say that, I hope the session is not recorded, but okay, one of the reasons why people are like moving to product management is because it's very stable, it's very cool, again, like the cool thing of college students. And then it provides you a great stability. It opens to you a lot of challenges which you wouldn't have experienced otherwise if you are say building one particular project and so on. So if you're looking for particular stability, just yeah, this is most probably the one of the best career options you can have.
Okay, ma'am. So now we are open for questions. If anyone from the audience has any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
How can a person with a technical background help in this field, and how can they continue a career in this field?
Okay. So technical background, I mean SDE, right? The software development and so on.
Yeah.
Yes. So as I said, it's very easy, and it's like 70% of the time the product managers of the product companies, the big tech companies, are coming from software development background. If you are in that domain, you can like look out for things like if you are building a particular project for your whichever company you work with as an intern, as a entry level position and so on, you can be involved in the decision making process in a way that you can like just figure out how things work. So maybe you are like building a web page, you can see how the requirement has raised, why we are actually building this product. And then maybe if you have some other feedbacks, you can like reach out to your people and so on. The other unconventional ways are like doing internships and fellowships other than your software development. But I don't think if you're like already into tech, you're at the right path. In 1-2 years, you will be able to get the right idea of if you're building a particular feature, why you're doing it in terms of implementation. And now you also knows that you know how it's gonna do in the backend. So you will be very good with say timelines, product roadmap, and everything that I have discussed in initial stages. So you know how this works, like the implementation guys. You will be a great fit for TPM, technical product managers, because they actually have to like assign work, give story points, the value to these people. And at later stages, you can be a great part of say team leading those particular features you have worked with. So if you are in a particular, if you are in a technical position, if you are in a technical role, so just make sure that you are also looking out of the technical domain. So if you are say coding a particular feature, ask these people, ask this PM that why exactly is the requirement have raised? Who has raised this requirement? Why do they think it's a good idea? And then do something. So that's like getting the overall business picture of like rather than just coding whatever feature you have asked to do. So that helps.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
How did you get that much courage to start as a manager?
Uh, okay, that's a great question. I think you won't get the courage in one day. Okay. So what happens is, as I said in the presentations, where I have said that you know you put it out there, you put yourself out there, you make your portfolio, you comment on people who are like interested in, you take part in forums, product folks, and a lot of forums like this. So once you have say a decent amount of exposure to these people, so maybe at first you will be contacting just one person. You have just joined the Slack group, so maybe you will contact like one person. At later stages in 1 week, 1 month, you will be contacting five. And then if those five people are like liking your idea, liking your like how this overall works, then you will be exposed to say 10 people. Then you will be famous in say product folks Slack group. Then you will put it out there. You have a portfolio, you put it on LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. Twitter is a great platform if you are like actually looking for product managers. A lot of people put resources for free. They also share their daily work. Building in public is also a great source. So if you have like, as I said, just fight your imposter. A lot of times it's not about something great we haven't done. It's about we are not feeling that we have done something great. So the courage part doesn't come like, you know, we just wake up one day and it comes. It's a great question. I really like your question, but it comes with time. But you need to start somewhere. You know, if you're not comfortable with online communities, just talk to your old friends. And you feel like, you know, this particular company, the decent ones who are like actually interested in this kind of conversation, don't talk to people who are like very into not into this particular domain, because that will be very discouraging. But then you go out to these people and then you ask that, you know, this business is doing this, I think they can also do this XYZ and so on, whatever you want to work. And then you'll know, are you on the right track? Other thing is basically reading books. So reading books, because if you are say an introvert, and I suppose that's a very challenging task for an introvert. So if you're an introvert, read books. Once you have this knowledge, I am telling you from my experience that you'll get the courage to speak up and talk about this. But a lot of times the courage doesn't come because we feel that maybe we don't know particular things to speak in this conversation. So read things. As I said, if you are interested in, say, specific to product management, there are a lot of books. If there's any other, if this is like a general questions, read about that topics. Once you'll get the knowledge, you'll get the courage. I hope this answers.
Yeah, excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a question. If I wish to open a startup, should I get a product manager in my initial team?
If you are planning to build the startup, you are the product manager.
Okay.
Yes. You need to figure out. So if you are building a startup, I suppose as a co-founder, you mean, right? Like the founder as a co-founder, and you are the product manager. And that's what we say, that product managers are basically the CEO of a product, just without the title. So if you are building a startup, you need to figure out what you are doing. You need to do the research. Like if you are not into that, get involved in all those things, because at like sooner or later you have to do that. So I would say if you need to start something from scratch, read about all these resources. A lot of resources are available out there, and then see that what you are planning to build. Do a market research, see what competitors are already doing, or which business are you planning to go into. See how this business is going to go, because if you're very serious about startups, you have to sustain in the business. Even if you get like VC funding and so on, you have to sustain. So then you need to also bring that business sense, that maybe I'm getting into financial services. Financial services are here to stay. Like for crypto is not very common as of now, but we all know that it's here to stay. Mm-hmm. So that way. So you are the product manager and you need to get the work done. I'd never recommend people to hire someone at the very initial stages when you are in yourself are not very sure of what exactly are you trying to build. Maybe at later stages, if you want to like co-found it with someone else, you can hire people. But at very initial stage, you have to bootstrap everything. That's how it works.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me, ma'am. Even I had a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, what are the skill sets that are basically required to like become a product manager, and how can you generally ask product manager? What can we ask a product manager when we are doing hiring interviews and all?
You are doing the hiring interview, as in you are the interviewer here in this case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think I have a slide for that. I just skipped that because I feel that's not it. So this slide, right? So if you see, I'll just so these are like the general things that product managers are getting asked in an interview. Overall, this aligns with the skills part, that you need to be good with business, you need to know what is happening, and then you need to be very good with numbers. So the very obvious options that are left with is general recommendation questions. How would you improvise the LinkedIn endorsement features, so on. The second is basically the case studies. If you need to say if you need to improve a particular revenue from to 10x in urban company, I would say, then how are you going to do about it? So that's basically a business sense extension. Then what all you should know, the section, this section, if you see first left side, you should know section. You should know product launch metrics. If you're launching something, what are the things that you are planning to do? Are you driving engagement? Are you driving, say, number of signups? Are you driving stickiness? Any other thing? You should be good with A/B testing, circle method. And these are like very technical terms you will be able to get once you are like reading all these books, Decode and Conquer. Like these books are in itself written for this particular purpose. If you are looking for very specific information regarding product management interviews, then I would highly recommend Cracking the PM Interview and Decode and Conquer. If you can choose one, choose Cracking the PM Interview. And then you'll get the basic idea of how this works. In the nutshell, you will be asked guesstimates, how many cabs are running in Allahabad in one particular day. Case studies questions, improvise questions, basic product questions, like how will you improvise this and that, so on. And general things, like how many number of burgers McDonald's sell in one day? And so how are you approaching that particular problem? Because that's exactly your job, right? You need to figure out what is wrong with this particular case, which particular feature, and then improvise something else. So maybe that way you can get a deep understanding via these books. You can try and you can get your answers, like exact ones if you're looking for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be taking one last question.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. I'm Ronis here. First of all, it was a really great session.
Thank you.
like you mentioned some skills like analytical skills and like knowing how to read trends like for a product manager. Like, I had a question like what role does like knowing about human psychology help like while designing products? Like, does that play a role?
I think in general the experience helps. So if you're looking for say the role as in the title of a particular job, I don't think we have it, and I don't think I can answer that because I can like only speak for myself in terms of how many jobs I have done, and I have done like a lot. So that way, I can say I was working at GradeUp before this, before the product management internship. I was a business analyst there, and then I got the overall idea of all these tools. So I had a product sense initially, but then all these tools, how to track them and all. So there are two things. One is basically knowing things, and second, showing people in the interview that you know stuff. So knowing things is the initial part. I am not exactly sure that which part answers yours. I'll just put it out there. So once is like knowing things. By knowing things, you can be like, oh, anyways, as I said, reach out to people, know how what they are doing, follow trends, read books, and so on. Then showing these people you know something, you can create portfolio. You can like read about all these platforms, as I mentioned, CleverTap, Tableau, Power BI, and so on. And then you can get the overall insights of okay, this is how it works and this is what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So skill set wise you can map, but I don't think you can map it via product via job titles, because a lot of times software developers are doing QA role and then QA people are doing something else, and so you can't exactly match. I have seen a lot of product managers doing business analyst role. So it depends on very specific companies. As I said, Amazon product managers are program managers, and they're also project managers for some reasons. And some people just call it very fancy word for product management when the like work is the same. So I don't think that will be defined by a particular job title, if that's the question.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Ma'am, there is a question in the chat. Advice for a product intern in a startup where there are extensive internal tasks, growth tasks, and number crunching.
Advice, you're on the right track. I can say that. Okay, that's an like I need to give an advice. I think ask for a PPO. Like that would be like a great thing to do, but you're already a product intern, right? So more seriously, if you are a product intern, you know what you're expected of in this particular company. There are two things to this. My particular advice will be to have an open end. So a lot of times I have seen that I'm an engagement PM, so I won't do say campaign part of it. I'm just handling engagement of a particular product. Don't do that, and especially when you are at the entry level or as an intern. So I understand in a startups, you either ways have to do like a lot of stuff. Be very open to things. So once you have realized maybe you are liking it in the engagement part, you want people to stick to your platform. That's engagement in the nutshell. And then you can decide that, you know, I am very good with engagements, and I have also done like things like that. There are again two things to this. You want something and you're good at it. You need to have both to like convince people that you're good at it. So if you're a product intern in a particular startups, experiment with a lot of things. You do have the feasibility of experimenting. Be open to these roles. And once you will figure out, and I hope it will take a little time for you to figure out, you know, which particular domain product you are like actually eager to handle. I am in engagement, by the way. I haven't mentioned this. So I specifically work for people to stick to my platform. That's my job. So then you can ask for these people that, you know, I am liking engagement. I'm good at engagement. Maybe you can ask, maybe you can dedicate a particular team or project to me. But before that, I would say be open and yes, ask for a PPO.
Okay, so
Anything else?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking your time and sharing your valuable inputs. I hope we continue to host these events in future, and we expect you to invite you in our future events too.
Sure. Feel free to reach out to any of my handles. I'm very active on Twitter and LinkedIn specifically. And if you have any questions, you can also ask my email address to Skillshop people. I would love to share. I've also opened a newsletter where if you want a specific question, the name of the newsletter in itself is Great Question. So it's like once people ask me something, I answer them basis they are valuable. So you can check like the links out there. If you need this presentation, you can also ask the Skillshare people, and I will be like more than happy to provide all these resources what I have. Good luck. I would say it's difficult. As an engineering student, I suppose most of them are from engineering. It's difficult. I have been there and I have done that. So I'm very sure that you all can. I'm always very open to helping anyone if you need any help at Future Sense. And yeah, good luck.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So also thank you all the attendees for joining us here today.